Kunal Bothra and Nooresh Mirani joining in. And Kunal, what do you reckon? 18K and here to stay?
Well, yeah, I think hopefully pretty soon we could probably break past about the 18K mark. I would expect that possibly the next half an hour, next 1 hour, we can expect the 18,000 marks to be taken out. Now, today's day is quite interesting because, if traders who are carrying forward long positions from yesterday, for them, for most of the future stocks, it's not too much of a, incremental gain. But from an intraday perspective, after the gap down opening for most of the stocks, the recovery is quite smart enough, which means that the short covering has not yet happened for the index, from a closing basis. I would believe that if the short covering takes place, we can probably scale past over the 18,000 mark. So bullish stance on the indices would maintain that, and hopefully expecting 18,000 mark to be taken out today itself.
The other important point, Awan, I'd like to bring to the table, which is the next week, 2nd to 4th, is actually the US Fed meet. And given the way the US Q1 GDP actually has come in, it has been weaker than estimate by a mile. 1.1% is the GDP which has come in. The estimate was 2%. Even PCE is lower. That is also giving a lot of hope to traders that probably the weakness in economic data could hold the hand of the Fed. And that is where we are nudging the 18,000 mark on the Nifty. US markets are very strong last evening. So that is also something on the radar. Growth stocks will be in focus in particular because they have a inverse correlation with the interest rates. If there is a pause, high growth stocks, you can look at some of the stocks from the consumer tech space. These are considered high growth. IT has slowed down, so no longer high growth, but mid-cap IT will be in focus. I want to talk about the consumer stocks once again. Nooresh, we saw very good run by Zomato, some other, except Nykaa, most have rebound 25 to 30% from recent lows. If one were to take a bet on high growth stocks, assuming that rates would pause globally, which ones would you feel even from current levels could be a good bet out of Zomato, Policy Bazaar, all these stocks, some of them?
So the three names which have made classical bottoming out formations is first is PB Fintech, which has already made the initial part of the move. The stock has, after making a breakout above that 500 mark, went up to 600 odd levels. So that is first one. The second one is Paytm, which has also made that 8 to 12 months of consolidation. At current levels looks pretty promising for an eventual leg up towards 800 levels in the medium term. Zomato is the favorite which I have out here because the stock has made a classical, say 8 to 10 months of consolidation, multiple bottoms around that 45 mark, 40, 45, 50 zone. Short-term breakout done. This rally from 55 to 60, 62 has been with large volumes. So an initial target price I have here is 70, 75. Once it crosses, that would be an indication of a major trend change for the stock. So I would go with Zomato first, second would be Paytm, and then third would be PB Fintech. Would avoid the names like Nykaa as of now.
In fact, Kunal, not only that, even some of the result candidates, if you look at from third to sixth, you would see metal names are coming out with the results. Tata Steel in particular, even in the corrective phase, Tata Steel did not fall below the 105 level a whole lot. Do you think that now 107, 108, that could be a bet? Kunal, what are your thoughts there?
So I think it could be interesting because the way in which these metal stocks could probably enter into the results could be onto a different tone as compared to the overall market. So right now it's a complete risk-on phase for the overall market, but the metal stocks have apparently underperformed when you try and look at the comparison, and specifically Tata Steel, where in the last I think 2 or 3 months the stock has actually corrected from 120 to 107. So assuming if post results most of the negatives would be out, then it could be a very strong recovery for Tata Steel, I would say. So I would probably wait out for the results to pan out, and assuming even if the prices open up say 5% higher from current levels, or if it opens with a 5% gap down, whichever way it is, I think that's going to be a trade to initiate Tata Steel, because either on confirmation that the worst is behind for the stock, or else when the stock opens with a gap up, it's a confirmation of a breakout. So I think Tata Steel is a buy, I think, in my books. I would look out for post results as a breakout candidate for the stock. Maybe at 110, 12 levels is a classical breakout point for Tata Steel.
Okay, that's the view coming in on some of those metal candidates, but I want to flag off some of the volume buzzers and they'll come up for you on your screens. Glenmark Life Sciences, for instance, that stock is seeing the biggest single day gain since its listing. It's trading above all its key daily moving averages with volumes at close to 9 times the last 20-day average. So that's a smart mover on the volume charts. We already flagged off PI Industries, but it definitely merits a mention given that 4 straight days on the trot you've been seeing a downtick. Now it's snapped that and the volumes are close to 7.5 times the last 20-day average. So biggest single day gain since the 9th of November of 2022. And take a look at CAT as well. That stock is seeing very smart volumes. It surpassed the 50 as well as the 200 DMA. Nooresh, let me get in your thoughts then on some of these volume buzzers. Anything that have flagged off standing out on the charts?
Fiat is the one which flags off really well, because if you look at the whole tire space, we see Apollo Tyres, the leader, hit a new all-time high. And Fiat has gone through this correction phase in the near term. It bounced back really sharply to 1900 plus levels, corrected to 1350, 1400 zones. And if you look at a little longer term, the stock return for the last, so the stock had made the stop at 1400 back in 2016-17. So the return is pretty weak in that sense. And now our next leg is coming up. Out here, consolidation done for the last 2 months between 1350, 1400 to 1500 levels. Today it's a breakout with large volumes. Any dip from here on is a buy. I would expect it to eventually go towards that 1950, 2000 mark. So a buy at current levels with a stop loss at 1400 and would expect a medium term move towards 2000.
Just checking in on some of the other smart movers, and Kunal, just curious to get in your take on the charts of some of these candidates. Gujarat Ambuja Exports continues to rally hard in today's trading session. What's the view on the charts, and have you had a look at the stock price of Indian Hotels, because it has been a fairly decent set of numbers? You did see the street as well at the get-go cheering that, but what do you make of the fact that Indian Hotels now has come off and is in the red at about 338? Is it because we've already seen the positive news priced in?
I'll start off in Indian Hotels. In fact, last quarter also, I remember, I think the stock had post results gone into a mild correction. So I think it's the way in which the stock is approaching the result, whether it's, buy on rumors and sell on news or sell on confirmation. I think that's the kind of trend which had been playing out for Indian Hotels even the previous quarter. So it doesn't come as a surprise that, this quarter as well, the stock is reacting in a very similar kind of a fashion. But then I think, last quarter, the stock had actually gone to that correction, had corrected sub the 300 mark. I don't expect the stock to get into a correction this time around. In fact, my sense is that assuming if the stock corrects by another 2 or 3% max, that could actually be a classic entry point for someone who's missed out Indian Hotels. So I think maybe closer to 330 odd mark could be a good level to enter the stock rather than current levels.
Guys, just pull up Star Health. The results have just come out and the stock seems to have shot up very sharply. Star Health 2.5%. Look at that, days high. Nooresh, can you check out the charts of Star Health for us? It's been a massive underperformer like many other insurance stocks. Is the bottom being made? Can we assume that?
So the interesting part is the stock did not break the lows of that 470 mark which it made in June of last year. Even in the current correction, a couple of times it tested, went closer to 520 also recently. In the last few days, it has made a small flag formation wherein it has a breakout above the 605 odd levels. Today, I think it is about to break above those levels. So technically, relatively better off compared to rest of the insurance names which have actually hit new 52-week lows. So out here, say if it stays above 605, one could keep a stop loss below 585 and could see a little bit of a rally towards 650 to 670 levels. But the longer term trend is still weak because from the time of IPO, it has been in a slow and steady drift. But seems like a base formation is happening out here. So for now, a little spike to 650 is possible.
Stocks which are doing very well today are Adani group of stocks. Adani Enterprises, Adani Ports. Those even Ambuja to that extent. But let's talk about Adani Ports and Enterprises first. Results are due. And also there is some talk in the market that perhaps that Supreme Court committee which was being announced, they may also come out with something in the next 1 week, 10 days. Kunal, can you just check out the charts of Adani Enterprise? 4% higher, almost $100, $75 in today's session.
Yeah, I think both Adani Enterprise and Ports looking quite encouraging, I would say, Ajay, because the stocks have finally come out of their 1 month, 2 month resistance. So I think it comes at the right time because the market is getting into that zone of the higher gear for itself, where the beta for rather the high beta stocks would actually get into a second phase of rally for themselves. So it comes at an apt time that Adani Enterprise is getting into the breakout mode. 1900 was the previous range resistance for Adani Enterprise. Seemingly the stock could probably close above this breakout zone for itself. This could probably take the stock back higher to that 2100 2130 mark, which was the high the stock had made in the end of the month of February, start of the month of March 2023. So I think that could be another 200 point on the upside target, which should be at least 7% higher from current levels. Adani Ports also is very interesting because apparently the stock was one of the first to recover and the first one to be more stable in terms of the chart. So I think at 675, I would expect 750, 740 as a positional target for Adani Ports.
All right, gentlemen, stay with us. We'll take a short break. After that, we'll come back and discuss more stocks and ideas for trade. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, and what a day it is. 18K, yes indeed, is right here on the screens as you've got the Nifty that gradually has scaled up. It's been a very interesting week as well. We've seen a lot of participation from the heavyweights that have led to this point in time, as Ajay was also alluding to, with the kind of GDP numbers that we saw from the US, what the Fed could potentially do. That too seems to be aiding sentiment. The broader markets, mind you, are neck to neck with the frontliners, if not outperforming at the current juncture. Take a look at the market breadth. That's really a telling sign of how the market is positioned at the current juncture. A solid 260 points higher and heavyweights all the way. So you have traction building up in the Adani group of stocks as we flagged off. There's Britannia, L&T, Reliance Industries, ITC, UPL, Eicher Motors, as well as Tata Consumer, Hero Moto. Those are some of the stocks that are seeing a lot of traction in trade. In fact, I just want to highlight a lot of stocks that are already trading at their 52-week highs in trade today. AB Capital, for instance, at its 52-week high. Apollo Tyres, there's Bajaj Auto, that's another stock that's trading at its 52-week high after the numbers. DLF is another mid-cap counter that's very active. Indian Bank, ITC, L&T, those are some of the stocks that are at their 52-week high. Kunal, are you pleased with the level that we're seeing on the screen? And are you saying told you so with names like an AB Capital, DLF, all that you have been recommending for quite some time?
There's much more to tell hopefully going forward, but I would probably expect that this could be a start of I think as I was probably alluding some time back that the market sentiment has not yet become extremely positive. People are still waiting out for confirmation that maybe the data point across the globe in terms of fundamentals, etc., would start improving. That's where the positions would start scaling up. We are still not seeing any kind of a euphoria built up into positions. So as of now, what we've seen over the last two weeks, specifically in the second half of the month of April, is unwinding of short positions. Now that has to start to translate towards building of long positions, for the stocks as well as for the indices, and that I believe could be a phenomena once optimism starts to kick in. So as of now, it's just fading away of pessimism, which has managed to lead to a 1,000-point plus rally. Hopefully, if the optimism starts to kick in, we may see another 1,000-point rally on the index.
That's getting greedy, Kunal. You're a very greedy person, huh? 1,000 points you just got. And you want one more 1,000, and that too in the same speed, is it?
No, not in the same speed as I said, but
just kidding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Nooresh, you also look at the small cap, mid cap end of the basket very closely. Quality mid caps have started moving. That's a fact. In fact, Nifty may have gone up just about 7% from March lows, but the mid cap, small cap indexes are close to 10% plus, if I'm not wrong. I want to check some of the names where momentum seemed to be very buoyant. Finolex Cables. Can you pull up Finolex Cables last 1 month, 900 cross. In the last 6 months, the stock has more than doubled. I must tell our viewers that Finolex is one of the underperforming stocks in its own space. At a time when other cable stocks like KEI, Polycab were making life highs of 52-week high, this one was languishing. Now it seemed to have reversed. $100 in a month. Kunal, can you check this one? Finolex Cables, more momentum or time to book profits?
No, I think it could be time. It could be game for more from current levels. So what we look out for is that whether the volumes are whether the volumes have chased the prices, or whether the prices have moved up higher, and then all of a sudden you see volumes at the fag end of the rally for stock prices. But that's not the case for Finolex Cables. In fact, the major chunk of volume actually started off in the end of February, start of March, when the stock was at 700 levels, where there was a huge chunk of volume. Post that, the stock has gone to a more of an inertia rally just because of the way the volume shaped up in the month of Feb, March for Finlex cables. But I think from there on, the stock has consistently moved up higher. So I think that zone of 750 would now act as a major support for Finlex cables. I would expect steady upside from current levels as well.
Nooresh, another one, Westlife, the burger company, McDonald's. Are you a fan of burgers or not? The stock seems
fan
to be
of burgers, but not of this one.
Okay.
So,
okay.
but if you look at
Yeah, can you check the charts for us, Westlife?
Yeah, so technically, what is interesting is that even McDonald's US has hit a new all-time high. So that's the first, say, update which tells you, okay, to look at this sector. Westlife, on the other hand, has been making a strong move over the last 1 year. It got into a consolidation for the last 3-5 months. Technically, the last top for the stock is around 800. For the near term, it has been testing that 740, 750 mark, which has been a resistance for the last couple of months. But the longer term trend is positive, the short term trend is positive. Could see some bit of a pause at 800, but overall it's a slow and steady move here for the whole sector as such. Similar is the case with other names out here. But Westlife looks interesting, but I would expect a slow and steady move, not a fast, flashy rally out here. So first a move towards 800, 820, and then maybe we look at it again, some pause, and then maybe another leg up. So for now, it's a buy on dips to 720, 740 zones.
Let's also